The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
This is FRC Media News. I'm Keith Tebow. I want to thank you for joining us for this special edition of FRC Media News as we look back at the top stories in Fall River for 2025. There's a lot to cover. Let's get started.
Correct. We originally came in as a box alarm, but be advised we did also get a call. It's going to be for the Gabriel House, 261 Oliver Street. Complainant screaming that there is fire and alarm sounding.
We got heavy fire. We're starting rescue operations, evacuation. Send me everybody.
About 9:30 tonight, we responded to an alarm at the Gabriel House, which is located directly behind me. Crews were met with heavy fire coming through the main entrance and multiple people hanging out the windows looking to be rescued. An incredibly coordinated effort between the fire department and EMS and the police department. Multiple victims were rescued from the building and transported to local hospitals for treatment. Unfortunately, at this time, we do have fatalities and multiple injuries, and we're still working to get those numbers to you, and we're going to try to update you when we have them.
And with that, Fall River became home to the deadliest fire in Massachusetts in 40 years and the deadliest in Fall River in 150 years. 10 residents of the Gabriel House Assisted Living Facility lost their lives in the fire and many others were injured. 60 residents survived. In the days that followed, investigators were able to put together their findings to conclude that the fire was accidental, with a focus on 2 possible causes.
Investigators determined that the Gabriel House fire began in a residence room located on the left side of the 2nd floor of the structure. Investigators also identified an oxygen concentrator and numerous smoking materials in the room. Tragically, the occupant was among those who lost their lives on July 13th, and we could not speak to that resident to get an account of the fire in its earliest stages. As a result, the available evidence left to them was 2 possible causes. One was an electrical or a mechanical failure involving the oxygen concentrator. The other was improper use or disposal of smoking materials.
3 weeks after the fire, we caught up with Fall River Fire Chief Jeffrey Bacon, who said his concern for the victims and of the well-being of his firefighters were his top priority, and he did not have time to process the impact of the tragedy.
This is a historic fire for the Fall River Fire Department, certainly, but nationally, this is an historic fire. Prior to this, there wasn't a multi-casualty, multi-fatality fire in any sprinklered building in the United States. So in this building, 10 people died. So this is something that it's going to take years to process and to really change perspectives on.
In October, the department released a report on its response to the fire. It referenced the challenges it faced, including construction and safety measures within the building. It also focused on staffing levels at the time of the fire and the response made by the officers on the scene. The day following the fire, increasing staffing levels within the department became a focus. In late summer, the city and the firefighters union reached an agreement on making additions to the department.
We went from having 2 trucks, outlying trucks that had 4 members on it, to now 6 pumps that operate within the city that have minimum standards, 17-cent standards of 4. It's shameful and it's sad that the Gabriel House existed. in the way it did. And I think that the laws that are going to be passed now are going to change how we do things and how we treat people and how people live, and also how the fire department, the EMS services, and the police departments deal with any emergencies that happen at those facilities.
Not too long after the fire, the families of those who perished began filing wrongful death suits against the owners of Gabriel House and the company that equipped the facility with fire safety systems and testing.
If there's adequate staffing, then maybe people are able to get out in time. If there is some type of a plan, an evacuation plan, fire drill that the staff is aware of, that people are aware of, maybe they get out in time. They didn't have a way to really get out of their rooms because the AC units were put in the main window, and so they couldn't get out that way. So people had to be dragged out of the bathroom window. In order to do that, because the bathroom window was so small, they had the fire personnel had to rip out some of the wood around the window to drag these poor people out of this building. If the sprinkler systems worked correctly, then they would have suppressed the fire where it happened, and it wouldn't have spread, and the smoke wouldn't have spread, and we wouldn't have had I don't think the deaths that resulted.
Now, those who survived the fire had to put their lives back together with the help and generosity of Greater Fall River, who donated time, money, and goods to help their fellow citizens in need. Catholic Charities in Fall River organized a collection of clothing and personal care items for survivors.
It was like going through a fast food drive-thru. The cars were just one at a, just coming into our awning, and our maintenance crew, volunteers were just helping unload and get into the donation room so we can start sorting and packing. It was, if we didn't receive, 20 cars an hour, there wasn't one. It was just so overwhelming, the amount of kindness that came out from the community. And not just Fall River, but surrounding towns. I mean, we had people donating and organizations donating from Boston, New York, Florida. People were just sending things. It was just an overwhelming, and at the time, you're right, I didn't process. None of us processed that. We're in the mix of it. It wasn't until a couple weeks after, and I'm still processing it, the amount of generosity, and it's heartwarming.
We're bound to learn more about the fire in the coming months and years, but there's no denying that the Gabriel House tragedy will forever be an unfortunate part of Fall River's history.
I rode from Fall River this morning. The LG rode from New Bedford. And we can finally say, after 67 years, we got here on South Coast Rail.
After over 30 years of promises and delays, Fall River can now say it's connected to Boston through commuter rail. Service out of Fall River and New Bedford began on March 24th. We were there before the first train departed Fall River's depot at 5:05 a.m. Chris Aguiar, an acknowledged train enthusiast, was the first passenger to arrive at the depot platform.
Grew up here in Fall River for like 30 some odd years. Live in Worcester now, but I had to come back down here. I couldn't miss the first train leaving Fall River, Now we actually do finally have a solid train connection. You have a way to get up to Boston every single day, and you don't have to deal with 24. You don't have to deal with the traffic. You don't have to deal with all that, the road rage and everything like that. This is such an amazing thing to have, and I'm so glad that it's finally here, The fact that I was the very first passenger to show up is kind of insane to me. Like, wait a minute, I'm that early? It's an honor. It's a real honor.
Approximately 50 to 75 passengers were aboard that first train to Boston. Governor Maura Healey joined MBTA Director Philip Eng and Mayor Paul Coogan and other local officials to cut the ribbon, officially opening the station.
It's a great day in the city of Fall River. We have a lot of former mayors here, city councilors that worked for years and years and years, decades to get this accomplished, to come out today. We appreciate everybody. This is going to be so convenient for the South Coast as our link to Boston goes on. And I know that if we all work together, we'll have good ridership, good participation, and we'll welcome people to Fall River so they can explore our restaurants, our waterfront, and everything that goes with it.
Soon after service began, so did complaints from residents along the route and the train stations. The MBTA came back in June to hear from residents concerned about noise around the MBTA layover station off North Main Street.
Are we supposed to throw our screens away, keep our windows shut, nice spring day, and run an air conditioner? It would seem to me that the answer would be to address the noise. And that I would think that in the year 2025, that there is an equipment out there that would solve much of these problems.
We're here tonight because we know that we own this issue right now, and we want to commit that we're going to work with all of you. We're going to look at what we can do short term that could make benefits, and we're going to also be upfront if something may take a little longer, but things that we want to pursue. But we want to have the ability. We've heard a lot of things that we expected to hear, and we've heard other things, at least from my perspective, that are new but important to hear. And I do think there are a number of things that I've heard that can be addressed more quickly than you think.
Initial reports show that ridership has been strong over the first 8 months of South Coast Rail service. It's a story we'll continue to follow into 2026. 2025 was a municipal election year in Fall River, and as has been the trend in recent election cycles, incumbents fared well. Incumbent Mayor Paul Coogan was seeking election to a fourth term, a race he said, regardless of the outcome, would be his last. The mayor faced 4 challengers in the preliminary election: former Flint Neighborhood Association President Carlos Caesar, former veteran and city council candidate Gabriel Boomer Amaral, South End Cafe owner Christopher Sylvia, and perennial candidate Michael Vandal. Mr. Sylvia, who had been a driving force in organizing events to clean up the city and benefit the homeless and those in need, was getting a lot of online buzz through the early summer. That online buzz also brought with it negativity and allegations questioning Mr. Sylvia's intentions, to a point that it became too much. 2 weeks before the preliminary election, Mr. Sylvia dropped out of the race.
It came from a place of care. I wanted to care about the people of Fall River, and I wasn't money motivated. I wasn't doing it for status. I was doing it for the right reasons. I was doing it because I cared very much. And after burying homeless people and helping sick kids and all of that stuff, I just said maybe with the power of the city behind me, I could make real difference. Seeing the conditions that the residents have to live in every single day in the city, I thought if I had the power of the city behind me, I could make a huge difference. And that's why I ran, for no other reason. But when the machine becomes so big that you don't see a path to victory without killing yourself, without destroying what you have built, you have to give in.
The November election pitted Mayor Coogan against Mr. Amaral, a registered Republican, looking to make city spending and operations leaner and more efficient. At our FRCmedia mayoral debate, spending the city's $500 million budget was a key topic of discussion.
The predominant driver of increases is the school department. The Student Opportunity Act has driven the budget up by over $100 million in the last 6 years. That money is given to us by the state to spend on our schools. We also have another $13 million that must go to state assessments that are mandated. We have another $13 million that have to go to our pension assessments. And we've obviously put 6.8 into public safety and solid waste. These are almost all mandated expenditures. The budget itself for the schools has increased by almost 40 or 50%. The regular city budget has gone up nowhere near next to that. We have actually reduced costs in some departments.
We talk about education being the catalyst. We are ranked 320 out of 356. So I don't care how much money they're throwing at him and throwing at us, and he says that the children come first. We are failing, exponentially failing our children. Our scores are lower, graduation rates are lower. Results just came out. IEPs were failing. We're under DOJ investigation for how we deal with IEPs. All of this stuff is failing. So the money's not the issue. Like they say, the mayor, Tom Corey, they've all said it. We got more money than we know what to do with, and we have to spend it because they make us spend it. Great, we have to spend it. Then why are you taking city money if you have all this extra money? Why are you taking from the taxpayers while the fire department is suffering? Why are we doing that?
During recent elections, city voters have appeared to become more conservative, voting for President Donald Trump in 2024. That shift may also have played a role in the outcome this year. After election night and following a recount of the ballots, Mayor Coogan prevailed by only 219 votes.
I couldn't get people to take my opponent seriously. And that's on me. It's not on the voters. It's not on my opponent. It's on me. I couldn't get people to understand that this might be a different kind of race, and that things that were being said were not accurate, but the message wasn't resonating, and that's my fault, I guess. I look at it, I have people to manage the campaign, but I'm the campaign manager. Let's be real. Every candidate knows what they want to do, and it just was something that I couldn't get across to people. I'd hear these crazy percentage numbers. You're going to win by this. You're going to win by that. But I never saw it that way.
I think people finally caught on that somebody's not afraid to tell the truth, and I think that was a wake-up call for a lot of people. I think a new generation of voters is getting there. I don't think we're there just yet. And I just think people are fed up. So somebody was finally speaking for them and saying the things that they want to say or that they can say, but they don't feel they have the right audience or enough audience. And I think we got it out there. I think we got the message across, and it helped us. You'd be amazed how many people are willing to step up for the right reasons. You got that voter apathy where people kind of give up on the voting stuff, and I see that side of it. And there's times where I'm there, right? It's like, oh, nothing changes, nothing changes. But I saw some people come out that just, you know what, they had enough and they went all in to do what we needed to do. And that opened my eyes, and it showed me that I wasn't just fighting for me and just my family anymore. I was fighting for the average everyday person, and I'm going to continue to do that.
Only 14 candidates ran for 9 seats in the Fall River City Council. 7 incumbents were re-elected: Cliff Ponte, Sean Kadim, Andrew Raposo, Linda Pereira, Paul Hart, Joe Camara, and Michelle Dion. Brad Kilby and appointed incumbent Ricky Tith will not return to council chambers. Challenger Michael Canuel, who finished second, will join former councilor Christopher Peckham on the council in January.
You go into it not knowing, especially I think there was no primary, so you just didn't really know where you stood heading into election day. You don't know what's effective. I was online in the early mornings before work or late evenings. I just wanted to meet people where they were. If they're online, I want to put my message out there, knock on the doors. I visit the high rises and the seniors centers, and I think I'm really humbled by the result. I can already feel the weight of the responsibility and trust that people have placed in me, and I thank all of the voters for that. And I will work every day to try and make the city better for everybody.
People are sick of the tax hikes. They are, and that's something I campaigned on. And just because I won last night, I still sit here and say I'm a no vote on every increase. I'm a man of my word, and I will vote no on every increase that comes before me. I think people are just sick of spending money and seeing less in return. And I think that's why they have, gotten closer to the conservative side of this, the less liberal spending and more of the conservative values of smaller government and getting more for your money.
Half of those on the school committee next term will be new after incumbents Bobby Bailey, Mimi Larrabee, and Shelley Pereira decided not to seek re-election. Kevin Aguiar, Tom Corey, and Colin Dias will return for another term, joined by newcomers Anna Riley, Chanel Stewart, and Emmanuel Moniz.
Class sizes. I know that that's not something that's going to be able to happen, overnight, or getting some extra staff inside those classrooms. I know it's a bigger thing. It's not something that I can walk into tomorrow and, do, but it would be lovely to be able to start that process. I know some of that could come with the strategic plan, so I know there's a lot that's going to come into that. I'm involved in a lot of different ways within the district already, so I think with that, I think it puts me ahead of the game with being involved in a lot of things and knowing all the players, so I know most of the principals and stuff like that because I've been to most of their events and done a lot of their things.
Affordability was a key issue during the campaign. Energy costs were often top on that list. Liberty Utilities has asked the State Department of Public Utilities to increase its monthly gas service rates for the average residential heating customer by 37% to the tune of $78.86. At a hearing at Bristol Community College in October, dozens of angry residents came out against that increase.
Fall River families are already struggling. Gas bills are higher, groceries are higher, rents are higher, and now Liberty wants to raise rents again, as if we're bottomless pockets for their profit. Let's be clear, it isn't about operational costs or infrastructure improvements. This is about greed, pure and simple.
I'm a landlord. I have good tenants. 2 of my apartments, I pay for the gas. But if this goes up like this, I have no choice but to. I don't want to. I have, like I said, good tenants that have been living there 12 or more years. I don't want to raise their rents.
You're asking my family for 37% more, but we are not earning 37% more in our wages. We have lost income as I am home with my son, and the price of everything is increasing. You're asking for more in the middle of a political and economic crisis in the United States. People are stretched thin as it is, and on top of that, we are scared. You need to bring down these percentages for residents. How much does your company distribute to shareholders quarterly? The rest of us get paychecks, and they go fast.
When it comes to housing, the list for public housing applicants through the Fall River Housing Authority remains at record levels, with the wait for an open spot being measured in years, not weeks or months.
We're always compassionate and sympathetic to their needs and their concerns. However, we're always honest with them, and we try to enlighten them how the program works, how it runs, and unfortunately, they're not alone with so many people in need of affordable housing. So we just try to enlighten them. Not that it helps much. It doesn't speed the process, obviously, but we try to inform them of how it works and why there's such a long wait.
Due to the uncertainty around federal funding, the Housing Authority has stopped issuing new Section 8 Housing Choice Vouchers. Even though rents in Fall River remain some of the lowest in the state, it's still a concern for many. Rent control was eliminated in Massachusetts via a ballot initiative in 1994, but another bill is making its way through the legislature. United Interfaith Action of Southeastern Massachusetts is advocating for its passage.
We understand, like landlords, especially owner-occupied, they need to raise their rents when their taxes go up, when their water bill goes up, things like that. Like, I think the average, citizen knows that, hey, you would have to raise my rent. I think where the problem comes in is when landlords, and sometimes it's corporate landlords who don't live in the community, want to raise people's rents based on what the market is doing just to get more profits, and they're doubling people's rents. We've heard stories of people's rents being tripled, and now these folks are literally living in the streets because they have no place to go. And a city like Fall River, as a gateway city, historically has been one of the cheapest places to live in the Commonwealth. And now when long-term residents of the city can't afford to live here, where else are they supposed to go?
The cost of groceries remains a problem in Fall River. When the federal government shut down in October, it ceased issuing funds for those receiving aid through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. That immediately put an added burden on local food pantries to meet the need. Greater Fall River Community Food Pantry holds 2 food distributions a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to noon, and serves between 900 and 950 families each month. People begin to gather in line outside the pantry's Nashua Street location long before sunrise. Routinely, pantry volunteers are forced to shut that line down before it opens for the day. Vice President Richard Mancini says a limited supply of goods make it difficult for the pantry to meet any increased demand.
It's heartbreaking. It really is. It is not comfortable. It's against our being. That's our purpose, is to help and to supply and to try and help people through crisis. And when you have to close the line and because of the shortages and the situation, it's heartbreaking. It really is. And we're trying to work something out. We're working a lot of discussion. Hopefully we'll come up with some sort of a resolution to help a little bit more. But with the influx of people, we can only handle so many people, and the lines are getting longer and longer.
Heating assistance for residents was delayed due to the shutdown, and as the year ends, there's still uncertainty as to how the federal budget will be constructed for the coming year, with potential cuts to Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security not entirely off the table. One bright spot is that for the second year in a row, SRTA buses are free for riders, thanks to an allocation of funds from the state. Fall River's homeless problem did not seem to ease in 2025. The city has continued to break up homeless encampments across Fall River while trying to seek help for those who need assistance with substance abuse and mental health counseling. The issue came to a head in February when the body of 59-year-old Jamie Cordero was discovered outside a mill on Globe Mills Avenue in the city's south end. Mr. Cordero was found to have died due to exposure to the winter weather. He was deemed homeless, yet not identified as such by city officials. The blame for Mr. Cordero's death fell both on the city and Stepping Stone Incorporated, operators of Fall River's primary emergency shelter, the First Step Inn. The shelter, which hosts 50 beds during the winter, was being accused of not opening up additional space at its location on Durfee Street during excessive winter weather. Mayor Paul Coogan says he met with leaders at Stepping Stone and assurances were made by the organization that it will cooperate with the city to expand its services to the homeless by providing additional space during severe cold weather emergencies.
I think our partnership with Stepping Stone is going to get stronger. I think they're doing what they need to do now to work with the city at a much higher, more productive level, and I'm confident going forward that they're going to be an active partner in all the things that go on at the city. It always seemed like, you know, Stepping Stone is obviously our main and our first prime homeless shelter in the city, but they kind of held back sometimes on getting engaged with our homeless coalition, which still has regular meetings, with our outreach workers that go into the camps. Their outreach worker was not traveling with them. These are the things we focused on in the just in the day-to-day mechanics of how a homeless shelter works, and I think that that's important. And I left today that meeting very, very positive about what's going to happen going forward, and Stepping Stone is ready to, you know, obviously they do a very solid job with what they do, but they're willing to take it up a few notches, which is good for the city.
In the meantime, community volunteers led by Christopher Sylvia of Christopher's Cafe and Father Rob Nemkovich of Blessed Trinity Church made weekly visits to homeless encampments near Britland Park to feed, clothe, and protect those surviving the winter weather.
And every time we ask, the community just comes out. Business leaders, we have Fatima Benson from Alexandria's here. I mean, Mr. Chen's here. Never a shortage of people who want to help. In doing this, we've developed somewhat of a network, and we just contact, I mean, whoever's talking about it, the more people that are talking about it, the more help we can get as far as like housing and things like that. So there's resources. I mean, ideally, we'd like them to come here and get hot food and things like that, but I understand if they don't want to leave their tents in this kind of weather, so we go to them.
I got 2 huge hugs already today from folks that we're just providing for their basic human needs. Some food, clothing, trying to keep them warm in this bitter cold.
On October 20th, former Fall River Mayor Will Flanagan was the victim of a stabbing resulting in serious injuries. The attack took place around the 100 block of Hartwell Street, not far from Mr. Flanagan's Cosmopolitan Dispensary. Mr. Flanagan suffered multiple stab wounds to his face and neck. A few weeks following the attack, the former mayor began speaking publicly about his ordeal. In a telephone interview with Pam Martin of Fall River Government Television, Mr. Flanagan said his recovery is expected to be lengthy, and he remains thankful that he survived the attack.
I have a lot of doctor's appointments and nurses and therapists come and check on me every day, and we're doing things like physical therapy and occupational therapy and learning how to swallow food again. So there's a lot going on with the body at the moment, and all of the thank yous, the prayers from across the city and from beyond, from people who I knew to strangers, really moved me to tears, Pam, when I opened up my social media or my phone for the first time after waking up on a ventilator and being somewhat alert. I started crying because, it just, it really moved me.
Police arrested 31-year-old Corey Gonzalez of Fall River in connection with former Mayor Flanagan's stabbing. He's been charged with armed assault with the attempt to murder and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. He remains behind bars as he continues to undergo a mental evaluation. He's due back in court in January. Fall River experienced 3 homicides in 2025, and overall crime numbers have been on par with those over the last few years. Despite ongoing efforts at recruiting new police officers, the city remains short of its staffing goals for the department. It's been a little over a year since Kelly Furtado was appointed chief of police. She was named on an interim basis following the departure of former Chief Paul Galvin in October 2024. The City Council and Cougat administration had a standoff this spring as Chief Furtado's name was put into nomination to become the full-time chief. Councilors Sean Kadim and Cliff Ponte were concerned that the appointment was not handled through a transparent process.
For decades, and I think my colleagues would agree with me, that this department has been plagued by internal politics that continue to foster a toxic culture, one where power shifts are driven by personal alliances rather than by principles of accountability and integrity. Unfortunately, this contract represents more of the same. The recommendation before us does not inspire confidence, and I have some serious concerns regarding the leadership and integrity of the individual being put forward.
Why we have to hurry up and get this done? Why? What is the rush? We have an interim chief. Council president said 2 meetings ago, the police are still reporting to people's houses. 911 still picks up the phone. Detectives are still working. Police details are still occurring. It's not this atrocity that's occurring in the Fall River Police Department. We have the ability to do this the right way right now, and we're not.
During the council debate, a local media report called into question the qualifications of Councilor Laura Sampson to participate in the vote for the police chief, citing her brother John Ferreira's role as president of the police department's Patrolmen's Association as a conflict of interest. The publication also asserted that members of the department were receiving services at Councilor Sampson's Behavioral Health Center, an allegation she claims is damaging and forced her to resign her post on the council.
It's okay to question my brother as union president. It's okay to talk about my ex-husband being a police officer, but there are things that are sacred and off limits, and that is the mental health world and who comes to counseling, who doesn't. I would never confirm or deny anybody that comes to counseling because it's private. It's very, very private information. That's not the fight that I wanted anymore. I have a new fight now we've got to be able to stop people from being able to just say whatever they want on a hearsay. He's not only damaging the world that I work in, but he's damaging the credibility. People, and I don't want to say just he, because it's a culture. People can just go online and say anything, and it's become the norm, and then it's become factual without any backing. And so the bigger fight that I have now is this isn't acceptable behavior, and it discredits your world. It discredits journalism.
Sampson's resignation made it possible for Ricky Tith to assume the office for the remainder of the council term. As mentioned earlier, Councilor Tith was unsuccessful in being reelected. When President Trump was inaugurated in January, local immigrants became worried that they may be targets for deportation, as the federal government and ICE have increased its presence in cities across the country. Attorney Jonathan Vasquez, limited partner for the law firm of Leiter, Fogarty, and Ribeiro in Fall River, says his office received calls from hundreds of clients seeking information on potential raids in the South Coast and how to respond.
The rhetoric, right, from the White House coming out regarding these orders, and even leading back through the campaign, right, even before he took office, it's a lot of fear mongering when it comes to this group of individuals, right? There's been this message that the consensus is they're all bad. That's completely untrue, right? There's a lot of hardworking individuals who are in this in this group of people who have been here for years, pay taxes, do things just as you and I. So yeah, the fear is definitely warranted, and the anxiety is definitely real.
The Fall River Public Schools in 2025 saw an increase in enrollment and funding, while its MCAS scores remained flat. In April, the district was the victim of a cyber attack that affected learning for a short period of time.
What we found was that going from having an internet and having people plan, expecting that they were going to show up on a Monday with access to the internet, people had to very quickly kind of change their plans. But what we saw in schools was the instruction continuing. We saw people using the resources to plan, using the same resources, but to plan for lessons that were not internet-based. I sat in a couple different PLCs while the internet was down to see what planning looked like. Very similar. Certainly, we saw that we had some, leaders who did print things. It was more difficult, without a doubt, but brought things in paper form. People were just in those rooms planning for instruction while the internet was down.
In October, the Herald News reported that a city school security guard filed a lawsuit against the Fall River Public Schools, alleging she was sexually harassed and faced retribution for reporting the accusations to school authorities. The plaintiff, Carla Cruz, is seeking $10 million in damages. School committee member Kevin Aguiar called the incident unfortunate and laid responsibility on the school department administration and Mayor Paul Coogan.
I do think that it needs to be investigated fully by an outside independent firm. The school committee's only role in that is making sure that we pay the money and allot the money for that, which the school committee's already done. So ultimately, we need an outside independent investigation. Any person, a worker, a student that has accusations of being harassed, but whether it's sexually or the like, or any other way, it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed fully by our human resource department, by our superintendent, and by our school committee in whatever role that we have. We cannot just keep on saying, oh, these things don't exist, and move on like the chairman wants to do. The mayor wants to continually deny that any issues go on in the school department, and he just wants to kick the can down the road and let it move on. Ultimately, if you're a victim of harassment, you deserve an answer. You deserve a full, thorough investigation no matter what it is, and I believe we're going to ultimately get that. It's very sad that it had to come to a lawsuit of $10 million, but ultimately this is forcing the hand of the mayor to finally act and the school department to finally act.
Fall River is also moving forward to expand its pre-K program with plans to move all of its classes to the former Bishop Connolly site on Ellsbury Street in the fall of 2026. Pre-K opportunities also grew under the stewardship of People Incorporated following its opening this fall of a new early child education center on Weaver Street.
A lot of communities are pushing ahead for universal pre-K. And if this city wants to move ahead with universal pre-K, more schools are going to be needed. So right now there's a gap in capacity in terms of if all kiddos at that 2.9 to 5 or 6 years of age want to get a preschool education, there's not enough room in our community for all of those students. So that push for universal pre-K is going to have to be coupled with expansion of programs like this, and so we're happy to be able to do our part to meet the city need when that time comes.
Construction is progressing on the new Diamond Regional Vocational Technical High School. The school is set to open on time next fall and remains on budget.
We are involved now with what's called move management, where everything from this building that needs to go to the new building is now on a schedule to get moved. We have new furniture coming in, new pieces that will be added in. That's already been bought. So whatever needs to go into the building, we've already purchased it. So that's the good news on the budget. However, there are things this school year that we will be asking the teachers and all the employees to start tagging those items that need to go to the new building. For example, if we have file cabinets with records in them here, we know they have to go there. The machinery that's here that the students work with on a day-to-day basis, they need to be tagged what is staying and what is going. The sad news, if there is sad news, and it is that once they walk out of this building in June of 2026, there's no expectation that they will be getting back in. So when they walk out the building for this time next year, okay, it's done. Is that the doors will be closed and they'll be entering the new building.
Bristol Community College saw new leadership take over in 2025 as Dr. Cedric Harris was installed as Bristol's 5th president in March.
I've been very blessed to work at 4 other, including Northampton now, 4 other community colleges. And what Bristol had in itself was a tradition of servicing its community. And I think that's really important for a community college. When you have that community piece in it, in your name, it's really important that you spend time working with your community. What has been done in all of the areas from Taunton to Edinburgh to New Bedford, as well as the online services that are offered, I really saw Bristol as an institution that I wanted to be a part of because of its tradition, its mission of providing access, being innovative. When you think of a program like NAUI, the oncoming program of having an associate's degree in artificial intelligence, they were really moving in a direction that I saw appropriate for community college, and being that workforce development engine for the United States is what community colleges, the American community college, has done. And I think Bristol was leading that charge, and I wanted to be a part of it.
We'll have more of this special edition of FRC Media News after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Program Operations Manager, People Incorporated, located at 4 South Main Street, is looking for a full-time Program Operations Manager to oversee operations at assigned residential sites. Job number 235-59152. Label Technician, Blount Fine Foods, located at 65 Current Road, seeks a full-time label technician responsible for picking, receiving, and returning of all labels to appropriate departments. Job number 235-59228. Administrative Assistant, Rexel USA, located at 1082 Davall Street, is seeking a full-time administrative assistant responsible for providing a variety of administrative and/or customer service support to assigned department branch leaders. Job number 235-58197. Cardiac sonographer, Primacare, located at 289 Pleasant Street, is urgently looking for a full-time cardiac sonographer. For more information, call 508-674-5111. St. Anne's Hospital, located at 795 Middle Street, has an immediate need for the following full and part-time positions. Phlebotomist, job number 235-57444. Pain Management Secretary, job number 234-57442. For more information about these or other positions, visit Mass Hire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
My name is David Perry. I'm the president of the Greater Fall River Food Pantry. And what we do here is we provide food to clients that are in need. We're always trying to get more people involved in what we're doing, and we're trying to concentrate on youth, and it's all about helping people, and that's what we should all be doing, is helping someone. So it's a great opportunity for them to come down here and give us a couple of hours a week. It's not long, it's 2 hours a day, and once they start volunteering, it's like a family, it really is. So getting these younger people involved, it's just great. It's great to see. It's great to have younger generations seeing what's going on in the real world, as we call it, and helping out.
I've gotten a new outlook on the community. I've been able to see all sides, helped me learn just a lot about Fall River as a whole.
We like to get students in from 14 years of age and older. It's not about the Greater Fall River Community Food Pantry. It's about what the Greater Fall River Community Food Pantry does as an outreach. We want to reach out to the community. Most schools require that the students put in volunteer hours. We're a perfect example of receiving those students, and that way they get their hours accredited, and it gives them a good learning experience.
Volunteering here made you feel good, felt like you were helping out the community, and also it really helped me out with making my application stand out with having volunteer hours on them. Like when I'm applying for jobs, I've been on the hunt right now, and I've done a lot more interviews since I did charity work here. Makes you really stand out, and also just feels good helping out the community.
I love hearing other people's lives, how other people live, other people's families. It's interesting, and I really like to do this work.
Come down and see what it's like. Come down and take an opportunity to help someone else. Come and see what's really happening in the world out there.
We started a new segment in 2025 where we took a look at new businesses starting or moving in Fall River. That includes new housing expansions, new restaurants, and the like. And we did this with the help of Kevin Lawrence, who's the owner of Fall River Development News, which you can find on Facebook. He's plugged into the local business community and has joined us and worked with us all year. Kevin, how are you?
Very well. Happy to be here for your end of the year roundup.
Yeah, so what we thought we'd do is sort of look at the top business development news stories in 2025. Let's start with developments, and let's start with activity that's been happening on the waterfront.
All right, this is new waterfront development, which hopefully will come to fruition in 2026. The biggest project is a $50 million project at 609 Duval Street. It's an 8-story mixed-use building that is planned along with 2 parking decks, and it will feature 160 apartments. The other big waterfront development that we should be looking forward to in the upcoming year is South Coast Health purchasing 2 parcels of land along Duval Street. This would be adjacent to Commonwealth Landing. It's currently Alan Paul's Rent-A-Ride. That's what most of your viewers would be familiar with. That's the property. And we're told some kind of medical facility will be built there in the near future on the waterfront.
And of course, next year we should find out a lot more, I would think, about what may be happening with the 19 acres that are going to be freed up once Route 79 reconstruction is complete. All right, let's shift to downtown. There was some activity there this year.
Yeah, the Downtown Lofts, local developer Anthony Cadero, currently building a 6-story mixed-use building. It'll feature an adult daycare center on the lower level and 52 residential apartments. This is at 295 North Main Street. It was formerly Canton's Clunkers and Geronimo's Used Cars. Those buildings have been razed, and construction is now underway with completion scheduled for sometime in 2026.
Yeah, so that's really going to spruce up that area near downtown, Bedford Street. I always like to say it's sort of like right across from the Salvation Army. So that should be quite the development that's coming up there.
Also in downtown, the former Cherry and Webb building is being proposed to be turned into 70 residential apartments. And that's a historic building in the city's downtown. So it'll go from office space to residential units, maybe sometime in 2026. They haven't started that one yet.
Yeah. All right, moving on now. There's been some work on Pleasant Street as well that we talked about this year.
Yeah, after many years of developers proposing to rehab vacant buildings, construction is underway on a 4-story blighted structure that started. Tetro Real Estate has begun converting that building at 1446 and 1454 Pleasant Street into 13 one-bedroom and studio apartments. Adjacent to that building is another 6,500 square foot commercial building at 1438 Pleasant Street, and that is also being eyed for apartments. That's being planned for 14 residential units. They will be 1-bedroom apartments at that location. So we also had some storefronts that were redone by the Community Development Agency earlier this year as well. The jewelry store, Nellie's bridal shop, that was redone as well. And White Rose Bakery was also completed on Pleasant Street. So there is finally some activity taking place on that road.
And also we like to talk about activity in, I guess, our far reaches in terms of north and south. North End and South End had some developments this year as well.
Yeah, in the North End, the biggest development is a massive new building that's being built on Innovation Way, 1151 Innovation Way. That's the new freeze pack cold storage facility. It's over 150,000 square feet in size. And in the south end of the city, a new 3-story townhouse development is now rising at 2492 South Main Street. The development will feature 22 units, and that is currently under construction. If you drive by South Main, you can see it right on the top of the hill near the water tower, right near the Tiverton line.
Yeah. A lot of exciting opportunities happening in terms of those developments that you mentioned. Unfortunately, some not so good news as some businesses were closing in 2025. Bring us up on some of those highlights or
Yeah,
lowlights.
we had some closures. O'Gill's restaurant at 915 County Street in Fall River, that closed. The Origin Bar and Grill at 151 South Main Street in downtown Fall River closed. Dunny's Barbecue closed in downtown Fall River on North Main Street. We lost Pachico's Furniture at 235 South Main Street, and that was a large storefront. It was over 20,000 square feet. That's a void in the downtown area. We lost 2 pharmacies, the Walgreens at 1521 South Main Street and the Walgreens on Pleasant Street in the Flint Village Plaza also closed. And in the north end, the popular ice cream shop Ice and Roll shut its doors at 4263 North Main Street.
And as sad as that news is, we're looking forward to, and we always like to end with restaurants, new restaurants either moving or coming into shape. There's going to be some new restaurants that we can look forward to in 2026.
Yeah, the biggest restaurant opening as far as my page and what garnered the most views was the opening of the Raising Cane's, which happened during the summer near the South Coast Marketplace. That opened for business on August 5th of 2025. We have a bunch of restaurants that are going to be opening up in 2026, including a new Asian restaurant specializing in pho and ramen. That's taking over Patty's Pierogies on South Main Street. We're also looking forward to the opening of Anchor and Stone at 439 Martine Street in Fall River. You may remember that was the former LePage's location. Farrow's Pizza and Grill is coming soon to the former Sun China restaurant on Brayton Avenue. And the Real Brazil restaurant and market is coming to King Philip Street. And we're also going to see a shuffling of restaurants. The Popeyes restaurant at the Flint Village Plaza will be opening up soon on 12th Street in back of the CVS where the former China Royal used to be. That was a Popeyes location and is now being converted into a Boston market. So we're looking forward to all these new restaurant openings in 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you can follow Kevin's work on a day-to-day basis. Just follow him, Forward Development News, on Facebook. Kevin, I appreciate all your work with us over the past year. I look forward to our continued partnership in 2026. Happy New Year, and we'll talk soon.
Same to you. Absolutely. Thank you, Keith.
My name is David Perry. I'm the president of the Greater Fall River Food Pantry. And what we do here is we provide food to clients that are in need. We're always trying to get more people involved in what we're doing, and we're trying to concentrate on youth, and it's all about helping people, and that's what we should all be doing, is helping someone. So it's a great opportunity for them to come down here and give us a couple of hours a week. It's not long, it's 2 hours a day, and once they start volunteering, it's like a family, it really is. So getting these younger people involved, it's just great. It's great to see, it's great to have younger generations seeing what's going on in the real world, as we call it, and helping out.
I've gotten a new outlook on the community. I've been able to see all sides, helped me learn just a lot about Fall River as a whole.
We like to get students in from 14 years of age and older. It's not about the Greater Fall River Community Food Pantry. It's about what the Greater Fall River Community Food Pantry does as an outreach. We want to reach out to the community. Most schools require that the students put in volunteer hours. We're a perfect example of receiving those students, and that way they get their hours accredited, and it gives them a good learning experience.
Volunteering here made you feel good, felt like you were helping out the community, and also it really helped me out with making my application stand out with having volunteer hours on them. Like when I'm applying for jobs, I've been on the hunt right now, and I've gotten a lot more interviews since I did charity work here. Makes you really stand out, and also just feels good helping out the community.
I love hearing other people's lives, how other people live, other people's families. It's interesting, and I really like to do this work.
come down and see what it's like. Come down and take an opportunity to help someone else. You know, come and see what's really happening in the world out there.
You may remember that back in August, we spoke with the host of a national online vacation and tourism program called Lost In that was producing a program about Greater Fall River.
Lost In is a show about wonderful towns that are kind of off the beaten path. Not your big cities or your more tourist traps. These are cool towns that more people should know about. So we find those little hidden gems and we show them off. So season 1 is out now. It was on Destination America, broadcasted, every Thursday at a certain time. Now it's free to stream on Tubi, and we're approaching the tail end of season 2. So we just wrapped up episode 9 in New Bedford. Now we're here in southeast coast of Massachusetts for episode 10. We got 3 more to do in October. It'll be on the airwaves come beginning of October.
This past weekend, Lost In Southeastern Massachusetts made its debut. You can watch it on YouTube by searching for Lost In with DJ Barbecue. It's also expected to be available on Amazon Prime and Tubi. That's all for this special look back at some of the stories that made news in Fall River in 2025. There are likely to be many follow-ups on some of these stories as we head into 2026. Remember to visit our website, frmedia.org, for more news and local information. FRC Media News airs Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. on Channel 95 and the Fall River HD channel located on Channel 1072. For all of us here at FRC Media, I'm Keith Tebow. Thank you for your continued support. Happy New Year, and we'll see you soon.